Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lonely Wrist. Today we have a very special guest, Francois-Xavier Hotier,
Perfect.
codename FX. We practiced this.
Hello,
And,
everybody.
and FX is the president of Ulysse Nardin North America. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Walk us through the early days of UN and how we got until the modern powerhouse that you guys are, that I know and love.
I love you say modern powerhouse.
Yeah,
Let's split. We are 178 years now. So let's split the history into parts,
sure.
if you want. Um, First part is 1846 and beginning of the 80s. Mr. Nardin opens his workshop, and it's really a family story of four generations, becoming expert in chronometry, the famous marine chronometers. Um, in the 80s, Rolf Schneider, an entrepreneur, took over the company. And despite the quartz crisis and all the mess in our industry, he was very daring and he brought Ulysse Nardin into the world of high complications. So, really shifting from marine chronometry to high complications. And you heard about our Ludwig perpetual calendar, hour striker, chiming watches, astronomical watches, amazing years of really R&D. Um, and then 2001, uh, Space Odyssey, we bring the Freak. And the Freak is a total disruption of the industry. I think we'll talk a lot about the Freak. Um, the Freak is the first super watch, or like Mr. Schneider used to say, um, I think the first modern art in contemporary watchmaking, if you want. No hands, no dial, introducing silicon to the industry. And we are still, at UN, we are still in the edge of the freak, which is very R&D driven, kind of a counter culture, I believe, into watchmaking. And also the freak uh, is a defining moment for the manufacturer because it's the first super watch creating a trend of super brands. And I mean,
Yeah.
before the freak, a watch is flat with a dial,
Yeah.
and a rotor spinning behind, or maybe a tourbillon, best case. Um, After the freak, you see the birth of MBNF, you see Urwerk, you see Richard Mille, you see plenty of very daring people doing very crazy stuff. That's why we are still in this age. And today, like for the last 2 years, um, we love to consider ourselves like an exclusive independent manufacturer, twisting horology since 1846. And we are an independent manufacturer after management buyout. So it happened like 2 years ago now.
And
That's pretty
that's
impressive.
an advantage in itself because most of these watch brands are a part of some conglomerate, right? Some big, big conglomerate there. They have all the control, the puppet masters, right? And you guys can pretty much do whatever you want, right? With autonomy
Yeah, I mean,
to a degree.
we are some kind of manufacturer of freedom, the way we work. And I love you say that, or you insist on that, because it was the best PR story ever for Ulysse Nardin. We've been in family business, entrepreneur with Mr. Schneider. We've been part of Kering group for a few years, um, with a few other brands like Balenciaga, Gucci, and it was not really, or Saint Laurent, it was not really our world. And becoming independent again is bringing back all these collectors, all these collectors who are choosing Audemars Piguet, Richard Mille, Moser today, MBNF, etc. Now they see UN back to their world. And it's an amazing hype we have around us. We are super excited, uh, in fact, by being independent.
I'm curious, FX, could you share with us a bit of the journey of how you became the president of Americas for Ulysse Nardin, or UN as we refer you as?
Yes, thank you for asking. Listen, I'm like everybody, I think, on your show. You know, like when I was a kid, I love watches type of, you know. I remember my first Casio. I was like teenager, you know, the one with the solar panel.
Yeah.
Uh, I was so stupid. I was like 11 or 12 year old. I was so stupid. I remember camping with the Boy Scouts, and to make sure my watch has a lot of power, I put it in the sun, and it totally exploded. So this is the beginning of my watch journey, and after I moved to mostly to mechanical watches. Always love watches. I think like at some point it came as a flash. Um, my dad coming back from the Gulf War, the first one, his pilots offered him a Breitling, and for me, I was 16-year-old probably at this time. It was like a talisman, you know, on the wrist
Yeah.
of my dad. Like this thing is like precious, more than a car or whatever. And I still did a very different career. And someday, Patrick Pruniot, who owns Ulysse Nardin, connecting the dots,
Yeah.
Patrick Pruniot gave me a phone call after a headhunter called me, whatever, and introduced me to Tag Heuer. I met Jean-Christophe Babin, now in Bulgaria. And, you know, I was like this French boy who knew nothing about Tag Heuer except Steve McQueen looking good with a Monaco. And I thought, oh my God, if I move to Tag, I will look good too. And I got a Monaco very fast. And that's the story. So I went into Tag Heuer. I opened their subsidiary in Warsaw. Amazing market, a lot of fun. After I moved to Christian Dior, it was LVMH. But while I was in LVMH, Patrick called me back 6 years ago now. While he just started in Ulysse Nardin, I think he started on a Monday, and he gave me a phone call on a Wednesday and said, FX, I know you love watches, I know you love stories, I know you love to crack business case. There is one to crack, it's Ulysse Nardin in North America. Are you interested? And I was like, listen, I'm good. I'm in Paris, you know, I'm in Christian Dior. It's amazing, you know, but yes, that's cool. And a few weeks after that, I told Dior that I would leave the company, move to Miami, and got into Ulysse Nardin. That's the story.
That's amazing.
It seems cool too, because I guess as my perception of Ulysse Nardin, you guys are much bigger in markets like Russia. You know, like it's Russia has a fascination for UN. In places like Switzerland and Germany, right? Um, you guys are kind of like America's kind of catching up in terms
Yes.
of the popularity from the brand, right? I mean, a fair assessment for me, right?
Black is true. I mean, when I was living in Russia, I remember looking. I knew UN pretty well, in fact, better than Patek Philippe, if you ask me, because you saw all the elite of the country having UN. And sometimes people in the US ask me, like, why UN has been so popular in Russia? For whatever reason, everybody knows that. Of course, it's before. Now we are not anymore in this market. But I think the reason is. Of course, there is an explanation. It's big. It's gold. It's a bit cliche about the Russians, if you ask me. What I remember from Russia is customers could be extremely educated, especially in engineering, mathematics, astronomy, and Ulysse Nardin, when many brands were doing 3-hand watches and best case scenario, a tourbillon, if you want, Ulysse Nardin was already pushing the agenda. Ludwig perpetual calendar, astronomical watches, the Freak, and the Russians, they get high complications very well. They are super educated, engineer-minded
Yeah.
group of people, you know. So I'm killing the cliche of his big and chunky and his gold, full of gold in the time. I think one of the reasons was really it's a very intellectual brand, you see, and some of our customers they were this type of people.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. You already kind of touched on this, but I kind of want you to harp a little bit more on, obviously, what do you feel like sets UN apart from other luxury watchmakers? We talked about the autonomy, but in terms of like craftsmanship and philosophy, obviously we know you guys are pushing the envelope in terms of technical innovation. But from the horse's mouth, what do you think, sets UN apart? in terms of philosophy and craftsmanship?
I think you answer the question in your question. It's really a R&D driven manufacture, but it's also 170. It's almost a 2-century-old manufacture, but still very R&D driven. What you have to understand is that the mindset in Ulysse Nardin is changing a little bit now, but it's really an engineering watchmaker mindset, not a commercial marketing mindset, if you want. And you see that in the history of marine chronometers. It's because we mastered alloy that our chronometers were so reliable at sea. High complications. The Freak, everything, sustainability, all of these aspects are R&D driven. So I think that sets us apart, being on one hand a classic 2-century-old manufacturer, but still being so future forward. And the other answer, it's more a storytelling answer, Blake, is I think there's a duality in Ulysse Nardin. It's a duality. It's not like we mix. It's really a duality. One hand, if you look at who we are, our collections, our watches, simply, you have the marine and the divers. There already is this spirit of exploration, this heritage of manufacturing marine chronometers for 55 navies. We did about 20,000 chronometers. We made an estimate, it's about 200,000 miles of chronometers navigating around the planet. So this is one aspect of Ulysse Nardin. Duality, because the other aspect, with the blast, I've got the blast here, with the blast or the Freak, it's very R&D driven. Like the Freak, I've got my vision here.
Yeah.
It's like over 20 patents, and these two worlds, heritage, pure future, pure high tech, for me they live very well together, and I guess that makes UN pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too many brands out there that chase like modern technological innovation like you do, but are still grounded by like heritage. So if you look at like the marine, or you look at even the diver, these are more traditional pieces, like traditional collections from you guys. The diver, not so much because you guys have fun there, but when you look at the blast or the Freak, I mean, these are modern, high horology, like innovative timepieces, and you guys have these two kind of catalogs within your portfolio of one big catalog in a way.
It's true, and you know that with age, what is innovation is called heritage at some point. Let me show you something.
Sure, yeah. This is a first here, first on the podcast. So you better be watching the YouTube, guys, if you want to see what FX is about to show.
Yes,
Jump
so
off
sorry for the guys listening, but I'm showing a marine chronometer. It's the First World War era.
Wow.
It's my private collection. It's not UN owned. I own it.
How much? I'm just kidding.
You don't want to know.
Don't say it out loud.
I'll never sell it.
Yeah.
So this chronometer was used in a naval academy between the war and during the Second World War in San Diego to teach cadets about navigation. This object, which is today a classic museum piece over 100 years old, at the time it was extremely innovative. It was top innovation, top high-tech navigation instruments. So you see, even if we talk heritage and classic, somehow I believe you talk high-tech. It's just high-tech of the beginning of the 20th century.
That's so cool, man.
Something.
Go ahead, Blake.
Oh, I was just gonna say something that most people don't know that I've noticed about UN is like if you look at your Classico collection, like what you guys are doing there is like early like 18th century like Patek, like with like hand painted dials and enameling and having fun with materials, and like it's something that I think is so unique You don't see it anymore. You don't see brands doing that.
I hope someday, Blake, Justin, I hope someday you're coming to Switzerland
Definitely.
and visit our manufacturer. That's pretty stunning. On one hand, you have this innovation lab, and everybody is an engineer working on these fancy computers and working in 3D printing, or I can even 3D printing. This is how basically we 3D print a Freak S,
That's so cool.
and you can in fact dismantle the parts, So you have these labs working purely with engineers, and a few kilometers away, you have Donzé Cadrans, and you see people working in at 860 degrees Celsius, making enamel dial, and it's the same ecosystem. It's Ulysse Nardin, and that's pretty incredible. I agree. I wish you guys come someday.
I was trying to schedule in January when I was in Geneva, and I was like right there in Laloc, like doorsteps away from you guys at Zenith, and yeah, we just weren't able to make it work. I guess because you guys were gearing up for Watches and Wonders, and congratulations on the Freak S Nomad. That watch is insane.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. A huge success. If you want one, forget it. It's sold out already.
Yeah.
So, but we expected that. We expected that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, because when we were talking before Watches and Wonders, you were talking about like, oh, we're just going to do one release. And I was like, that's a little weird. But, that's a bold take, because you see every brand is releasing 20, 30 watches, 15, 17. They're just filling their catalog. But it really goes back to showing, the brand, the maison as the brand that you are, where you don't care about that. You just want to have a really great release, one really great release versus filling your collection and filling your portfolio and giving an overwhelming amount of releases. You guys put all your concentration, energy, and effort into one amazing release.
I mean, yes, you understand very well our intention, and also the Freak encapsulates everything about Ulysse Nardin. You see, the Freak exists because before there's 178 years of R&D, development, creativity, craziness, imagination, and we want people to see us as the Freak.
Yeah.
Because people know already about our divers. We've been doing divers for over 60 years now. We've been doing marine chronometers for like more than a century. We want really people to see us as mastering high complication in a contemporary way, and the Freak, which is, again, as I said before, the first super watch. And I think people missed that. People know the Freak. If you're a collector, a watch guy, you heard about the Freak, but you may know better Richard Mille, for example. In a way, I want to believe that Richard Mille exists because the Freak appeared, on the scene. The same way I want to believe that contemporary art exists because Picasso someday, with some other guys, and decided that Cubism is a new way to represent reality. You see?
When we get Richard Mille on the podcast, we'll ask him.
Oh, please do.
If we can make it happen.
I've been reading, I need to search that again, but I've been reading a revolution about the Freak. And in this revolution, there were a few quotes, and I remember Max Bussner, so not Richard Mille, but Max Bussner from MBNF saying, it's not a quote.
Right.
But he's saying something like, the Freak helped him to get into pure creativity, while before watches were very classic in a way, something like that. And I love this type of testimony, you see, because in fact, big people in the industry today know that the Freak was the creative moment, like disruption in the industry. We didn't do enough of a job, I believe, to Ulysse Nardin to communicate this message. And we let plenty of other people creating even their brands after the Freak take over this field of contemporary watchmaking. Today, collectors come back to UN and realize, oh, the Freak was there in 2001. Really? Seriously? And yes, seriously. That's why at the show, Blake, we were showing the Freak S Nomad. Next to it, you had the 2001 first Freak.
Yeah.
So people can see, if you want, the origin of this piece.
Yeah, Craig. Shout out to Craig. Craig sent me a. He was keeping us up to date with. So in the watch group, I think I was telling you, but he was keeping literally play-by-plays of posting pictures of your booth, of like all the watches you guys were displaying, and I mean
cool.
we had almost 100 people like watching like his daily updates in our chat, and yeah, it was a good. I felt like I was there because of him.
Yeah.
So
He was just providing a little window for us. It was pretty cool.
yeah.
We had an amazing show, and I think what's very unique with this show versus the years before is usually it's a very B2B. You know, you meet your retailers, they see the collection, they see everything, and it's great. This year we have a lot of collectors, a lot of. I stayed on the weekend. You know, it's open to the public. You have serious collectors coming with serious watches on the wrist. And they come to the Freak. That's what they want now. And it's no surprise if today in North America, the Freak is our number one collection. Before it was in the fringes, you know. Today, the Freak is what people want. And I think that's amazing. Finally, this Maverick, you know, gets the love it deserves.
Yeah. Let's talk about how you balance. So we talked about this. We looked at your traditional collection. How do you balance your traditional collections with innovation, and then meanwhile introducing new technologies, new materials, like having the creative ability within that space? Like that's probably a challenging question, but how do you stay grounded while pushing the envelope?
Yes. How can I answer? It's a challenging question. I would say if you have a long-standing heritage, you can afford to be disruptive. I don't know if it makes sense. For me, it makes sense, in fact. And, to create something, you must master, you know, some craft. A great example, I believe, is the Hour Striker. You know, the chiming watches, the automaton. In the 80s, Ulysse Nardin, while everything was, you know, like broken by the quartz crisis, Ulysse Nardin came and went into this amazing Hour Striker, chiming watches, minute repeater. And we brought back a tradition, in fact, or we miniaturize what you see in Venice, in Italy, you know. And I think that's pretty stunning. If you ask Ulysse Nardin today we have the Blast Tourbillon Hour Striker. It's an ultra contemporary watch. You have a mechanical on-off button to activate the gong, a membrane in the back. It's 86 decibel, if I remember well, so it's pretty loud. It's a totally skeleton, so you can see the gong in motion. You have a tourbillon on top of that. The case is very angular, you know, very futuristic. But we can do this today because for the last 40 years, we've been working with automaton, chiming watches, hour strikers, minute repeater. So I don't know if I answered your question, but again, you find in UN this duality of we master our craft, but we want to reinterpret traditional complication in a very, very modern or futuristic way. And I think that defines, again, pretty well who we are.
You guys were the first to introduce silicon, too, inside of a watch movement, from my understanding. You know, everybody thought you guys were crazy. Like, why would you use something so fragile inside of a watch movement? But now everybody's doing it, right?
Yes, it's 2001, where the Freak appears. There's no crown, no dial. In fact, and it's introducing the silicium. You display time with a flying carousel. And this is a watch introducing silicon. Silicon has plenty of good properties if you think about it. Like, you know, it's anti-magnetic, no oiling, no friction. It changed shape and come back to the original shape. So yes, we introduced it, I think, after Patek Philippe in 2005 introduced silicium. But we master, in fact, silicon again because we produce it in-house. The department producing our silicon is called Sigatech in Switzerland. And we launched the first silicon escapement wheel in 2001 with the Freak. We bought the hairspring in silicon in 2007, a balance wheel, and also a diamond seal, which is a diamond-coated silicon escapement wheel in 2017. So it's a lot of innovation again inside a 200-year-old company.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are always like innovating, but yet you're still grounded, like Blake said. I think that's such a cool thing. I'm going to switch kind of subjects for us, FX. What trends are you guys currently seeing within the the luxury watch market space, and how is UN responding to these ongoing trends that are happening?
Yes, trends there are. Are we responding to the trends? I think
He's like, we're making them.
Yeah.
I may sound very arrogant, but I think we started it in
No.
a way. So let me come back to the first question. What are the trends? I mean, coming back from the show, I think one trend is like complications. Brands are really investing into complications and research. I think that's great. And I think more commercially, I guess you guys will agree, there's a trend with niche brands, small manufacturers, very contemporary, disrupting the usual codes, of a three-hand watch with a date maybe. And I think that's a trend today, like very contemporary, pushing the agenda of design, the agenda of complication, but in a very creative way. I think that's a trend. And why I was saying I may be a bit arrogant is somehow I feel again that when we created the Freak, and after years and years, more than 2 decades of reinterpreting the Freak, or this blast tourbillon, I think we participated to create this trend, and this trend is today more than ever very, very strong, and that's great. That's very cool. There's many brands, there's many manufacturers, many companies doing traditional watches and date and chronograph. There's many of them. There's a few doing something extremely creative and contemporary. And I think these brands are creating, in fact, are creating a new world, new opportunities for the industry, and keeping it relevant as well.
Let's shift into sustainability because we know that is pretty important for you. What initiatives has UN implemented to address environmental concerns and your manufacturing process? Like, how are you eliminating that carbon footprint?
The first thing, Blake, is that I think our industry, by definition, is ultra sustainable.
Yeah.
If I take a UN, like take a diver, for example, 95%, of the parts, of the components, if they are not made in-house, because we do most of the watch in-house, they are made by suppliers like 20 miles away in the valley, basically.
Yeah.
So the ecosystem is really like our neighbors are working with us. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we are trying to build our watches with as many recycled or upcycled materials as possible. And you look at some watches we've done, like the Diver Net. It was a concept watch we launched in 2020. Now it exists as part of the collection with different names. This watch we used like fishing nets
Yeah. Recycled
Yep.
fishing nets.
Exactly,
For
mixed
the
with
break.
recycled carbon fibers, and we created a new material, and we do the case with that. The steel, for example, we may use in some cases stainless steel upcycled from the car industry, or we will use our own stainless steel that we use for parts, when we build the parts, and we recycled it again to make other parts. The carbonium, carbon fiber melted at high pressure, high temperature. We will use carbon fibers from the aircraft industry, scraps from aircraft industry. So there's plenty of ways to make your own manufacture, your own industry, or the watches themselves, um, uh, basically more sustainable. And I wanted to say something here. It's not only about UN. In fact, UN is a hub. What we do is we work with plenty of startups, like partnering with them in order to have the best quality possible materials. We test it, and when it's good, it comes into a watch. So there's like a few companies. Some of them are based in Switzerland. Some of them, like for the fishing nets, recycled fishing nets. It's a French startup called Fil and Labs, I believe. Yes.
Nice.
And there are some other companies, like it's an Austrian company working with us with stainless steel recycled from the automobile, or it's a laboratories Lavoisier for the carbon fiber. So you see there's an ecosystem created around Ulysse Nardin to push the agenda further.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't imagine, you and your team getting in boats and going in the middle of the ocean and scooping up, like nets and stuff. I mean, obviously, you guys need to leave that to the specialists while you guys focus on your watchmaking.
Yes, and there's a lot of quality behind it. It's easy to find a fancy material and put it on a watch. After, is it a true diver watch and you can go at 300 meters dive? I'm not sure. So there's a lot of tests, a lot of interactions with these companies to get perfect quality and not disappoint anybody.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What are some of the biggest challenges that Ulysse Nardin has faced in the recent years, and particularly with like global market fluctuations and things like that?
Never a dull day.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've been only 6 years at Ulysse Nardin, and I feel like I started yesterday. So many things. If I may answer in two ways. The first
Please.
way, there's the business model. We spend a lot of time with the new team streamlining our distribution, streamlining our collection. What you say, Blake, focusing on what matters. As a message we wanna send, repositioning the Freak, in the heart of collectors. So there's been a lot of work internally, and also we've been moving from being a Kering-owned company to becoming independent. That's a big stretch. Suddenly, it's a different way to manage your money. It's not like you have like money coming from the company and you do your thing. You have really to make sure everything you do is useful, efficient. The other answer is the market. You had this normal market 2018, 2019, and then COVID, like what? At some point, it was almost, some people thought it's existential. Okay, there was this crazy buzz and purchase attitude after COVID. And I think now we are back to some kind of adjustment, you see.
Yeah.
So Ulysse Nardin, if you want to put UN performance inside this cycle, the last 6 years, we have destroyed a lot of value and reduced our distribution to work with the best, and mostly to give the best experience to the collectors, because that's what matters. People must be proud to have a UN on the wrist. And that's why we really kind of changed our business, and now it's doing pretty good, in fact. Again, getting out of carrying, the post-COVID years have been very, very good for us. I think there's a trend again in this market when people are kind of tired of having always the same brands or collecting the same brands with different iterations, and they want to go into independent manufacturer brands. They want to see the behind the scene. You can't imagine how many people ask us, "Oh, can we visit your manufacturer if I go to Europe?" And I'm usually saying, yes, of course you can. We can organize that. There is a real interest in how you do, how you build your watches, what's behind the scenes, not the marketing, what's behind the scenes. And I think it's benefits to UN, again, very well.
Something I was expecting you to say is obviously, you're in Miami, you're in Florida, and UN is based in Loloc, right, in Switzerland. So I'm sure there's challenges between working with the Swiss side of the company and your side. So explain to our listeners, like, what that's like. Like, how does that work? Like, obviously by the time you come into your office, they're getting ready to leave, for the day. So, I'm sure that's a challenge.
Yes. I mean, we go surfing, they go skiing at the end.
Right.
No, you start early, and I guess all my friends, all the other guys in the industry will tell you the same. You start pretty early because it's already morning for you. It's already afternoon there. So usually when I'm driving, I'm already on the phone. So we have an early day. That's one thing. Otherwise, what I love with UN, I think it's part of the spirit of freedom we have, is as a market, we are pretty free. There's a strategy, there's a direction, which is very long term. But the team really does. We do what we have to do. You know what I mean? So we work a lot with all the manufacturer because they ship the watches, they give us some materials to work with, but mostly we are building up our story here, and I think that's very cool.
Yeah, you get the hats in Switzerland too, right?
Yes, and they are made from recycled plastic collected in the ocean as well.
I felt like I was feeling pretty sustainable today.
That boy got an ocean hat.
Yeah. I'm curious, and you may or may not be able to answer this, or you can probably beat around this question. But let's talk about the future of UN. What do you see as the biggest opportunity for the brand moving forward?
It's I think UN participates to design the future of the industry because we don't want to repeat the recipe of the past. Many people, including us, master the recipes of the past. The real question is, what else can you bring to the conversation? What is the next innovation, or what is the next interpretation of classic watchmaking you could bring with a mindset which is like future forward, design forward. So there's a lot of things happening. I can't tell you too much because our industry loves secrecy.
Yeah,
exactly. So let's tease you guys a little bit. The Freak, of course. Freak is a laboratory on the wrist. It's already an incredibly complicated time-only watch, if you think about it. It carries a lot of patents, and there's a lot more to do. So the Freak will see some more developments. Also, it's interesting to mention, if you noticed, that a genius called Ludwig Oechlin is back to Ulysse Nardin since we've been independent. Coincidence, probably. Ludwig is back. He helped us with the Blast Moonstruck, which is an incredible contemporary astronomical watch. And Ludwig, I mean, if somebody doesn't know on the podcast, Ludwig is a philosopher, an archaeologist, a watchmaker, a genius watchmaker. He carried the innovation of the most complicated astronomical watch with Ulysse Nardin. He brought the perpetual calendar. You can adjust forward and backward. So he's really somebody incredible. And he's back to UN, so there would be some development. He participated to the Freak, obviously. So Ludwig is back. So I think that if you love like complicated watchmaking and science, you'll be happy. Otherwise, marine collection or the divers, they are heritage. At the same time, they are ultra innovative. We play a lot with sustainability. We play with new materials, the diamond seals, the silicone. So here again, you will see development that if you're a watch lover, you will love. Again, not because we are doing copy-paste of what we've done before, but because we explore new territories, if you want. So
Something
it could be fun.
something I actually didn't know or I didn't understand until like, when we were in Vegas together. But I got to take apart a Freak. So I took it apart and I put it back together, which, from my understanding, not a lot of people get the chance or the opportunity to do at some of your events. But something I noticed is like how simple it is to like maintain, because people focus on, there's a challenge, right? As you go up market and you develop these crazy technologies, servicing those watches becomes an issue. So something that I noticed that, again, not many other brands do is, you guys are focusing on another side of sustainability, which is continue in longevity of your product and serviceability.
And silicone helps. And I will tell you, in short, simplicity is complexity. On one hand, you're right. The Freak, it's like a Lego. I'm talking about a Lego. I've got one. I've got here. It's a Freak S Lego.
That's cool.
Moving parts and everything.
I'm gonna need one of those.
It's the Freak is in a way simple to assemble if you have an experience like that. But what is the complexity? What has been the research, the genius, the mindset, the engineers, the creativity involved to get there? At the end, a watch doesn't have to be complicated for the sake of being complicated. It must be complicated, or it is complicated because it's bringing something new. And then in a century, the Freak S Nomad will not be a complicated watch. It is today because we are pushing an agenda. But I love you say it's simple because I kind of agree. You have like really you built a puzzle, and it's also very self-explaining. The gear train, the balance wheel, this 6 feet long spiral giving all the power. It's kind of easy. The minute is given by the gear train. There is an hour disc for the hour. Everything's easy, but gosh, how many like thousands of hours of work to get there?
Yeah,
I love that like you mentioned, Blake, that it's simple. Like, and no offense, that's not taken hopefully in an offensive way, but I love that simplicity also kind of portrays like a more legible watch to me as well. Like something that draws me to the Freak is I'm not looking at a fully skeletonized case that's super just everything everywhere all at once. It's very unique and it's a breath of fresh air, which is something pretty cool.
And
Justin, agree. We love that a watch is must have ergonomy. You wear your watch,
Yeah.
So yes, so that's important. But just to the point of simplicity, if I just list for the nerds here, if I just list a few aspects of the Freak S Nomad, which we just released, you have silicone balance wheels and air springs, diamond seal coated escapements, a double oscillator linked by a vertical differential. It's less than 5 millimeter. It has 69 parts using nanotechnology. The ball bearings are smaller than a millimeter. You have a grinder, which is an automatic winding system. 20 patents on the watch. Of course, no dial, no crown, and no hands, because it's a Freak. And it's made of anthracite PVD-coated titanium, carbon fiber case, and the hour disc, I will call it, not really a dial, is a guilloche made by hand on a more than 150-year-old machine, traditional way, with 240 strokes that you have to do in 3 hours without any stop possible. So yes, it's kind of simple, but you know, it was
the
not
effort
done in a
that
day.
the research and like development that went into it is not simple whatsoever.
Not at all.
What the product is.
Yes.
I was waiting for you to say too, no base plates. So like, you know, like this is I've done a bunch of watchmaking events and stuff, and you know everything is housed by a base plate. You know, you drop everything and it kind of assembles everything, but you guys were just like, no base plate, let's get rid of it.
Why? It's a Freak. It must be different. You know Jean-Christophe Sabatier, our product director, you have to meet someday. We'll tell you that the Freak is about kinetic. You know, usually in a watch you have a case. It's not moving. Inside you have your caliber, your dial, and your hands, and this part is moving. In a Freak, everything participates to motion, like everything, including the case. You know, the gear train is connected to the case itself. The bezel is turning because that's how you change time. Everything's in motion. So yes, when you have a watch event, and I hope some of the people here on this podcast will join our events when we are doing our road trip in the USA, you will find it kind of, okay, I built it, it's pretty cool. But remember, like all the research and years of development to get there. Simplicity is complexity.
Love that. Ulysse Nardin is known for some pretty high-profile collaborations. I know you guys are. Can you tell us about a recent collaboration and its impact on the brand?
Listen, when you say high profile, you probably want to know about like some superstars or something super complex or R&D. I will disappoint you. I will talk about something I really personally love, and I would say my team is super engaged. And it's one more wave, for example. You know, the history of Ulysse Nardin is connected to the sea, the marine chronometers with an anchor on the logo. So I think it's everybody got that. Cool. We started to supply the U.S. Navy pretty late, in fact, in 1905, during Theodore Roosevelt government, mostly on torpedo boats. That's why the collection marine torpiller,
Gotcha.
And on submarines. So we were the watch, the navigation instruments, if you want, of U.S. Navy and the submarines. So there is this storytelling in Ulysse Nardin. And then my dad's a veteran. The team in the USA is involved, you know, they care about the topic of the veterans. And very organically with the team, we said, okay, why don't we do something? Why don't we do our part with the veterans, knowing that we have a connection with the sea? So we partner with the Medal of Honor convention. So we presented a watch in Annapolis, which is incredible for us in 2018. And we partner with One More Wave. So One More Wave, it's an organization created by Navy SEALs. They are based in Coronado, like in San Diego. They have a shop where they do custom surfboards for disabled veterans. This one is, with the handles is meant for somebody on a wheelchair, so you can grip the board and paddle like that. Amazing. Okay. We are raising funds. We did 2 collections to raise funds. We give to the organization. We do fundraising events. Our customers have been giving money to One More Wave, and we became their number one partner, sponsor, if you want. And we target with the team, I don't want to give the numbers, but with the team every year we say, okay, how many veterans we help? It costs $2,500 in average to create a custom-made surfboard, all the equipment. It's about $2,000, $2,500. I mean, you talked about Craig, Blake. Craig is original sales. Craig's son flew with Craig to San Diego when his son has his bar mitzvah to volunteer and help the veterans on the beach. So his son, like I think 13, 14-year-old, he has seen what it is to be a disabled veteran, what it is to go surfing, to recreate a community. And he did a fundraising in his school. It's just to tell you how engaged is the team. So, of course, most of the brands will tell you about fancy collab with fashion brands or another Hollywood star. My team, we do that with One More Wave. We work also with O-Search, a marine biology organization. There are a lot of things you don't see that we do on the side. And it makes, the team super motivated and us super connected. And if you ask me about our customers, you remember, Blake, we had a small event together in Vegas. A former NFL player came. I told him about the story. I don't know if you were around. I told him about the story of One More Wave because I was wearing these days a diver, One More Wave.
Yeah.
He bought it. And I told him, it's not really I care that you buy the watch or not because the watch will be sold anyway. But I would really be interested if you can connect with them, have a conversation with them. The guy is a good businessman, so maybe you can help, in fact. And they are talking right now. I just made a connection. He proactively sent me an email asking, hey, FX, can you connect me with the SEALs and the vets? I made a connection, and the guys are talking right now.
That's amazing.
That's cool, yes.
You led up to the fact that it wasn't about celebrities, it wasn't about endorsements, but what you just touched on, I think, is more important than any of that. You guys are making a real impact in the community. You're touching people in a way, that others aren't. You're providing you're benefiting a great cause, and I think that's way more exciting than getting XYZ celebrity to wear you in and spending who knows how many tens of thousands or millions of dollars to secure that just for product placement. But you guys care more about impacting the community than you do about having your watches seen in the right manner.
I agree.
If you talk with the team, the UN team, and feel free, you'll see to contact them or you will see us at events anyway. But if you talk with the team, they will tell you what I say very regularly when we have meetings. It's great to have good results. It's great to overperform the market and stuff like that. But it's not the stuff you tell your kids or your family on the weekend.
Right.
When you barbecue in Florida. No. What you tell your team is, my son is doing a fundraising for the veterans. What you tell your team is, there is a shark tagged by O-Search, and the shark is called Ulysse. That's the things people share with their families. That's what makes you proud. We don't fight only for market shares. We do something more than that. We have we spend 10, 12 hours a day working for the brand or traveling. What do you bring what's the story you tell to your buds, So I think that's why we do that. And if you ask me what's the collector's response, that's what I said. Collectors are really engaged because they see us as real people, not like pushing some advertising somewhere. They see us as real people. They love that. And I love, we have a customer in Miami is hosting events, fundraising for One More Wave. We must have, the thing is out of control, and it's great, There's a story behind Ulysse Nardin making watches and selling watches through retailers. There's more than that.
Yeah. Let's shift the conversation a little bit. We're almost here at the end of our time. As a leader for a brand like Ulysse Nardin, what have you learned from your tenure at UN, and how has working at Ulysse Nardin impacted the future of not only your personal life but your professional life?
Listen, I think that time is not your enemy. It's something I repeat every day. It's kind of a motto. I love to think that time goes so fast. That social media. All industries, including ours, is very short-sighted. What's the sales of the month? What's the results? Are we beating competition? retailers and use the numbers. There's something there is a fast pace forced to you. So I love to tell the team, listen, guys, time is not your enemy. Sometimes going too fast for industry is making mistakes. What you really want to do is making people proud and happy to wear a timepiece on the wrist, So I think that I'm tuned like that. I want the team to be tuned into the collectors, the club members, as I love to call them. We love to believe that what we do is really to serve these people, and they are happy to be a freak, they are proud to have a freak, and they are our best ambassadors. So I don't know if I answer your question, but that's something I've learned is under the pressure of tonight, let's do things so well, let's execute things so well that tomorrow will be shiny bright. And I believe that in our industry, we are 200-year-old. That's the way we should process, every decision.
Yeah, and of course diamonds are made under pressure, right? So, but another question that I have for you too is as a leader, when I think of, the brand, I think about innovation, I think about excellence, I think about development and overachieving. How do you foster, how do you grow that culture within the brand? Because obviously you're responsible for growing the company, right? If you were just sitting there doing nothing, you guys wouldn't be doing anything, right? You wouldn't be pushing the envelope. So when I think about those values of Ulysse Nardin and then translating them into strategic business decisions, like how do you foster that culture?
I think it's about energy, how you go like forward to everything. I think I bring a lot of energy to the team, and the team is super energetic. I don't say they go running every day, but kind of, before work. There's a lot of energy in the team. When we have an event, we have like a round table, and Las Vegas is calling. Who wants to go? Bam. People always volunteer. I have watchmakers coming just like that all across the country. I think this team is super energetic and not focused on reporting or computers. This team is on the field. Because we have a wholesale business model, we work through retailers. We want also to meet the customers. We want to meet the collectors. And I think my team is really tuned into serving these people, flying to meet these people. I mean, in May, I've got full May is 2 weeks of traveling. June, I've got 2 weeks of traveling as well, including bringing brand ambassadors and bringing collectors to Switzerland. So the team, everybody in the team, Craig, is traveling all the time. My VP sales is in the air all the time. My marketing is flying next week to New York. We are very much in contact with our collectors, and we get a lot of feedback. And these feedbacks are also extremely useful to improve, in fact, our conversation with them. And that's one thing. And the other thing I want to say is I think this team is working super well, like a Swiss clock, extremely transparent. We share all information together on a daily basis. We make a lot of decisions collectively. And I love to tell them, you guys are coming back to the Navy SEALs. I love to tell them, you guys are like Navy SEALs. Each one of you is an expert in something, but each one of you is able to replace the other in case, And I'm very proud of them, to be honest. It's the brand is fantastic. Watches are fantastic. I mean, I say that because I believe it. Otherwise, I would have stayed with Christian Dior. It's an amazing adventure, Ulysse Nardin. But the team makes the difference anyway.
So, something I was waiting for you to say, but maybe you don't notice it because you work for the brand and I don't. So I can look inside to you and notice this. But, you guys are so passionate, like Craig, for example, like every time I see Craig, like he is just like an excited kid in a candy store to show off the newest product, the newest release, like the newest innovation, like, and obviously I've spent a lot of time with him, and you can see the shimmer in his eye, that passion, that excitement, that enthusiasm that a lot of other brands, I'm speaking from my experience, that I don't see. They're like, oh, let's just slap a white dial on it and call it a new watch.
I don't think that the mentality of the team is to be on payroll. You see, I think you have this secret well kept, which is Ulysse Nardin, this incredible manufacturer. And again, you have to see it by yourself in Switzerland to understand how incredible is this company, in fact. This heritage. And look at the empowerment of us. We are given Ulysse Nardin, and we are in a long-term strategy, and you're responsible of taking it to collectors, So there's a lot of excitement. We don't depend on advertising. You don't have advertising in every magazine, like saying, "Oh, this is a watch you have to own." You don't have all of this. You really have an amazing product, amazing retailers, and not a lot of them, just a few selected. So our distribution is super exclusive, and you have a team which is like totally behind it. And I think this recipe is very simple. In a way, reminds you probably of building up a freak. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of skills, I guess, to get there,
Yeah, and something to. So I sat down with Roman Marietta from Zenith.
Yes.
And something that we also talked about that I've never heard anybody talk about, and I'm sure you probably think a lot, but with a brand like Ulysse Nardin that has such unique heritage, it's your obligation to uphold that heritage, to keep it true, to balance, because you have to stay pure, right? When you're responsible for such a unique history, being pure, being authentic, and it's a huge responsibility, right?
It's not, again, I'm a businessman in a way.
Sure.
But it's not about the numbers. It's about what you leave behind, So yes, there's a lot of responsibility. It's pretty big, but it's cool, It's pretty cool. It's an amazing industry. You meet super cool people. Everybody, you guys, you have conversation with people who are passionate. The press, the media, the influencers, they are passionate. So it's very exciting, and I think we excite each other, when we have conversation about watches, which is very true to our industry. I guess it could be the same with the car industry, probably, especially fancy cars. It could be the same with some other industries. But we are fortunate to be in this passion-driven world, and that's amazing. I think we are very fortunate being here.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot here. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you for spending it with us. Something we've been doing recently is, we've been giving our outlet to our guests, at the end of the podcast. So like I said, we've covered a lot. We've talked a lot about your leadership and the brand. Is there something that you feel like we didn't cover here in our podcast today that you have the opportunity to talk about it right now?
Listen, you ask a lot of good questions. I hope that the secret well kept of UN will raise interest, among your crowd, and they will search online and what he was saying, what is this information about, what is diamond seal. I hope people will be curious, after this conversation. And again, if somebody has some questions, I don't know what is the media on YouTube, but I'll be very happy to take questions and answer. Again, we are super transparent, super open, and passionate.
Yeah.
So we share.
Yeah. That's why we knew we had to have you on. Again, I just want to thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on. I knew immediately that we had to have you on. Just again, like I talked about the passion, that's what we're here for. We spot it, we recognize it, we appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners will also do the same. And And so yeah, so thank you
Thank
for
you,
coming on.
Blake.
And
Thank
thanks
you,
for spending
Justin.
time.
Thank you, Lonely Wist, and hello everyone.
Yeah.
I hope to meet you soon somewhere in the USA, Vegas for sure.
And everybody, we will make sure we we link their social media, the Ulysse Nardin official, and we'll make sure everybody probably knows who you are by now. But take the link in the description, and we'll make sure we plug them, and you have ways to contact them. So, all right, guys, that is it, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.